my name is Joe Curci. I grew up in Manalapan, New Jersey, about 45 minutes south of the city. And I was in 7th grade, so I was 12 or 13. I think I was 13 years old. And it was my second week in 7th grade, which was in our town, middle school. Middle school was just 7th and 8th grade. So it was brand new school, starting to become a teenager and a whole new world. And it was, I remember Tuesday morning going to school, and we started our day, homeroom, and then I went to gym class. And I remember vividly being in gym class, and it was like one of the first gym classes. So we were still getting organized into where everyone, did their stretch routine and stuff like that. And a woman had come into the gymnasium, one of the secretaries from the office, and called out my name across the gym. So very confused. I walk over to this woman, the secretary, and she says, Joe, I just want to let you know that something happened at your dad's work, but everything's okay. And I was like, well, what happened? She goes, I can't really tell you, but just there was something that happened where he works, but he's fine and everything's okay. And, go back to school, go back to gym class. And so very confused, have no idea what she was talking about. And just, tried to go back to the routine of the gym class. And I couldn't have been more than 5 or 10 minutes that had gone by. And the same secretary came into the gym again and called my name and told me to go up to my locker and pack my things, that I was going home for an early dismissal. And it couldn't have been 9:30. It was really early in the day, and I had no idea what was going on. And now 2 times in 10 minutes, the secretary came, and she was like, now you got to go home. So I go up this back hallway and go to my locker. I get my stuff, get my backpack, and now I go down like the main stairway to the lobby of the school. And there is just a mob of at least 100 parents, and everyone's kind of figuring out what's going on, and people are picking up their kids early, and I had no idea what was going on. I'm looking for my mom, and I don't see her anywhere. And then all of a sudden, my aunt and uncle were there, and they don't have any kids in the school, and they're like, Joe, come here, come here. I'm like, what is going on here? They're like, no, we're picking you up. Mom asked us to pick you up. Don't worry about it. And it was so, I don't even think they signed me out. It was just bedlam in the lobby of the school. And so I go with them. I get in the car, and I remember my Aunt Marie, she got in the back seat with me, and I'm like, why are you sitting in the back seat? Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? I had literally no idea. And that's when they told me. They said that a plane flew into my dad's office, into the World Trade Center. And, we heard from him that he got out, and we think he's okay, but we haven't heard from him in a little while. And Mom wants us to take you home, and we're just going to go home and, figure out what's going on. And I think when I found out in the car, I mean, you can't picture what that is. Like, I had no idea what it was, what was going on. I mean, it sounded terrible, but until I got home and I put the TV on and I saw what actually happened, that's when I started crying. I was freaking out. And then there was a window of about an hour where we didn't hear anything from my dad. It wasn't until I saw on TV what was actually going on when it really hit me. And it was chaos. And at my house, my mom, she was still in her pajamas. She's sitting on, we had this kitchen stool, and, the phone was still on the wall. It really wasn't like my dad had a cell phone. I don't even think my mom had a cell phone at the time. And she literally just sat under the phone and just looked like, I thought she was going to pass out, because he had gotten out of the building. So he worked in Tower 2 on the 55th floor for a company called Icap. And crazy thing is, the last day in August 31st was like the week before we went back to school. I went to work. I used to go with him to work every year before school started. And I loved it. Going into the city, we'd go out to lunch. I'd hang out with people in his office. So I was literally just there. And he had, his office was right near the window. He worked on a desk with about 15 other people, and so he got out of the building and called from his cell phone that he got out, and then that was it. And then probably 5-10 minutes later is when his building came down. And so then we didn't know where he was. We didn't know what happened. I mean, I remember just looking and seeing the building come down and just saying, like, how did it fall down? Did it, it was just a lot of uncertainty. And, then the phones were down, couldn't get in touch with them. And it was like 2.5, 3 hours of just watching the TV, and then just different family, relatives, neighbors just coming by the house to try and like comfort my mom and me. And, I remember people tried to tell me to get away from the TV, and I just couldn't. Like, it was just, I was glued because you wanted to just see what was going on. And it was terrible. It was, it was really some scary stuff. And then about probably like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was standing by the window, and all of a sudden my dad's sedan comes pulling into the driveway. And I was like, oh, Dad's home. And so he got out of the car, his shirt's off, he's got soot all over his face still, he's got, his pants are like completely dusted, his shoes are like down. And he gets out and he walks in, and it was, everyone just like jumped on him. And he was crying, we were all crying, and still didn't really like sink in what had just happened and what he just went through. And I remember he went upstairs, he took a shower, and then he came down and we went on the deck. And like I think a week and a half before, he had actually gone to this thing to try and quit smoking, and that went right out the window. I think he had a carton of cigarettes that night. But he told us his perspective of what had happened. And so they had to walk. Thank God that he smokes, because his building shook, and because the plane hit the other building, and his building was the second one that got hit. So his building shook. It kind of like jostled for a few seconds. Nobody really knew what happened. And he's like, I need a cigarette. And so he walked to the elevators. The elevators were turned off already. So they kind of knew something was wrong. So they just started going down the steps. And so they walked down, I think 51 flights of steps, because the ground level was level 4. And he walked out. That's when he called my mom. And they started walking down the street towards the water. And he would park every day. He parked in Journal Square and took the PATH train into the Trade Center, because we live in Jersey. And they started walking towards the water, towards the PATH trains, and it was just chaos. And then the building came down. He said they ran like behind a car, and just took cover and just lied on the ground. He said it was like in a movie, like when you see the scenes in a movie, and just the clouds filled the streets. They couldn't breathe. It was just, they covered their mouths, just hid under the car, and then everything settled. They got up, they walked another block, and there was an abandoned newsstand. And they just went in and started taking all the bottles of water just to pour over their heads so they could see and start to breathe again. And then the path was down. They got to the waterway. He probably got on the last or the second to last, because the ferries were still taking people back to Jersey. It was probably another half hour later when they cut everything off. And he actually got on a ferry back to New Jersey and was able to get to Journal Square and get to his car. He drove random people home that he never met. These 2 women that lived in Middletown, he drove them home. And then his boss, Bruce, who lived not far from us. Like by 2:30, he was home, which is insane that he was able to get from there back to Central Jersey in like 6 hours. He even to this day, almost 20 years later, he doesn't really talk about it. The anniversary every year is always a tough day. He lost a lot of friends. The weeks after, I remember he was going to a different memorial service like every night, and we went to a lot of wakes. I know the next day I didn't go to school, and it was just weird. It was just everything was weird. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Nobody knew what exactly happened. Um, and at like 13, I really didn't know what to feel. I just, I was angry. I was, I'm an only child, so it was me and my dad were real tight, and I was thinking about that. I was just there the week before. Then I finally went back to school, and it was funny, to think back now on things that happened. I was actually placed that year in the wrong English class, and I was in an advanced English class, and anyone that knows me knows I'm not the best reader or writer. But the teacher, knowing what happened, kept me in the class without telling me because she didn't want to change up my schedule because she knew what had happened, and ended up spending extra time. And it was just, I think back now of like all the different random acts of kindness that people did, because everyone just rallied behind each other. Everyone was kind of in the same boat, no matter, especially in Central Jersey. Nobody didn't know somebody that was either there or had lost someone or knew a survivor or knew a firefighter or a police officer or a nurse I think back now on just all the people that did different things to help other people. I remember that first Sunday going to church, and the church I go to on a normal Sunday, it's pretty crowded, but like on Christmas, you can't even get in, and it was like Christmas for like the next month, where everyone just started going back to church, and it was just a very weird time. To think back now, 20 years, it's still gives me goosebumps just to think about it.
So your dad smoking saved his life, probably. How many people did he lose in his office? Do you know?
Yeah, his company lost one person. They were on the 55th floor, and I think lower. They had some office space, and sadly, one woman went up to deliver something to like one of the higher floors up in the hundreds, and she was the one lady from the company that didn't make it.
When did your dad return to work, and where was his office relocated?
So what happened was I don't know if it was a week later or 2 weeks later, but the company and a lot of like Wall Street companies rented out these warehouses that Mayor Bloomberg had. Well, he wasn't mayor at the time, but Bloomberg had these warehouses along the west side, and he said basically it was just like a garage with folding tables, folding chairs, a computer monitor, and a phone, and it was just like rows and rows and rows and rows of just, that's all it was. It was like it was crazy, and
Where
that's
was
where he
it
was.
located? In Lower Manhattan or
Yeah, I
where?
think it was lower west, so somewhere down along near where he worked, but down in like a warehouse that they just converted into office space. And they were there for a while, a long time. And I remember my dad talking about it then, and he doesn't talk about it much anymore. But driving to work every day was tough, because every time we went over the extension into Jersey City, you'd still see the smoke, and he just have different flashbacks, and it was tough for him for a while to just drive towards the city, and that lasted for years. You'd still get that uneasy feeling going over that extension when you get to like 14B, and you can see the full lower side of the city there.
How is his health?
He's still smoking, so he hasn't been able to quit. He hasn't really tried since then. Different things here or there, but he's okay. I mean, he has type 2 diabetes, but I don't know if that's directly related to being down there. Something kind of like a family thing, but he's thank God he's doing okay. He wishes he were better at golf, but he's still hanging in there.
And what is he like on September 11th each year?
So yeah, he's quiet. We've had probably the first few years, I think he would get together with a lot of his former coworkers or current coworkers, and they'd go to a local watering hole and kind of just reminisce and maybe numb some of the pain from the day, and then that kind of stopped a little bit. And then in 2011, me and my mom came up with an idea for the 10-year anniversary. And we were able to do kind of like a bucket list trip where we flew out to California. And it was really cool. On the 10-year anniversary that afternoon, me and my dad played Pebble Beach, which was unbelievable. It was the first time either of us were ever there. Definitely a bucket list thing. We woke up that morning. It was early because we were 3 hours behind. But the whole resort at Pebble Beach did a moment of silence, when the first plane hit, and we were up watching the thing. He tries to watch the ceremony every year, but usually won't last too long. I know my mom likes to watch it, and she was disappointed this year that couldn't really see everyone reading the names and stuff like that, and the different siblings and relatives and friends of those that we lost, being able to go there and honor their loved ones. So it was definitely a different kind of year this past year for the 19th anniversary. I'm sure everything will be back for the 20th anniversary down there. And then thinking 2 years ago, when I'm not sure exactly the year that they opened the museum, but the museum did a great job of, because he's registered, in the registry for all the people that were there that day. So, he's always getting all the mail and stuff like that. And they offered him 2 tickets before it opened to the public to go into the museum. And I was shocked that he wanted to go because he doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't like to watch any, if it comes on in a commercial or on a news segment, he usually changes the channel if it's a story related to it. But he wanted to go, so we went. And I think we might have the record for the fastest group ever to go through the museum because it was really too much for him. We went and we stopped at a couple things, and then 15, 20 minutes in, he's like, I need a cigarette. Let's get out of here. And that was it. But it was, and I mean, from what I saw down there, they did an amazing job, with everything that they put in there.
Joe, is your father registered with the Victim Compensation Fund?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check with him. I know he's on some sort of registry because he gets, mail throughout the year and stuff like that.
Here's why I say, I'm glad to hear that his health is good, but the Victim Compensation Fund is in place for the next 70 years. So they're telling people, even if you're healthy now, you have to line up 2 witnesses and get affidavits from them that you were there in case you get sick in the future. So what people don't know is even something like GERD is directly linked to the World Trade Center toxins. So anyway, in other words, your dad has to protect himself for the future in case he gets sick, and his witnesses may not be around when and if he gets sick. So this is something he needs to do to protect himself. And if he had any skin cancer over the last several years, if he had prostate cancer, all those cancers are directly linked. All you have to do is prove that you were down there, and he gets free health care for life, and he gets compensation. And most people aren't aware of this. So please pass that along to him. And if he needs more information, I could give it to him. You have my email address, right?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, it's really, really important because, That was nasty stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and help is available. And he's not going to take away from the first responders. There's money for everyone. There's health care for everyone. And it's in every state in the United States. So, and hopefully he can pass that along to other people who may have moved out of the area. Is there anything else you want to add?
One quick, I left out from the day he came home. So he came downstairs. He sat on the deck, and he had his carton of cigarettes there, and he had a couple glasses of cognac, because I mean everyone was kind of, who didn't want to drink that day, just to numb everything that was going on. And then my Uncle Noel suggested that maybe it would be a good idea to go to the hospital just to get checked out, make sure your lungs are clear, everything was good. So he got dressed, and Uncle Noel took him to the hospital, and they went to Center State right in Freehold. And they were chaotic there because they were just making themselves available should they need to take in anyone that was there. And so he came in, and now his breath kind of has some cognac on it, and the nurse, he's trying to explain to the nurse, I need to get checked out. And they're kind of like, this is just some drunk guy that's coming in. And then my Uncle Noel explained where he came from. And then within 2 seconds, they had him hooked up to blood pressure. They were checking him out. And, thankfully that day they sent him right home. But it was just, everyone was on high alert that day. It was just, it was crazy.
Well, thank you for telling us your story. I'm glad yours had a happy ending. That's rare.
Yeah, and I appreciate you doing this. This is awesome. That 20 years later, there's a lot of people that might not remember what exactly happened that day, and not realize the impact it had on everyone in our area, and all the people that still every day go by and don't forget about it, and it's affected their lives for the last 20 years every single day. So I appreciate you for doing this, and all the people that advocate for the families and the survivors, and all the first responders that are dealing with the ramifications of that day still today. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.